Today I'm going to read to you a personal recount uh, of a food memory. So this personal recount is written by Eileen Ong, and she uh, joined this competition uh, organized by Burpole to write about their memories about the hawker food. So her story uh, came in first, okay, and she wrote about this bowl of Cheng Tng, okay, that she calls it the Magical Cheng Tng. So why is this Cheng Tng magical? What magic does it have? After you have uh, read this personal recount, you might be tempted to go to Cheng Sang Market and Cook Food Center at Block 527, Ang Mo Kio Avenue 10, to taste this magical Cheng Tng as recommended by Eileen Ong. Without further ado, let's read her personal recount. When I was in kindergarten, my great-grandmother, Ah Zhou, would carry me or hold my hand and walk to the Cheng San wet market every morning. It was way bigger before the latest renovation to shop for groceries, as we only lived a few blocks away. Once we were done, Ah Zhou liked to spoil me with a bowl of cold Cheng Tng from this particular store. I remember constantly complaining that I want ice kacang instead, because there was no atap ji in the boring Cheng Tng. So if you don't know what's atap ji, there's a picture of it here. Okay, it's the nipia seat. She never once gave in to me. That means the grandmother never let her have ice kacang. However, an incident happened that changed my view of the unassuming Cheng Tng. So what does unassuming means? Unassuming means humble, like ordinary, plain, unassuming Cheng Tng. There was once when my Ah Zhou needed to look for loose change to pay for the ice kacang. She let go of my hand, and I was tempted to go get the ice kacang by myself. While she was distracted, I braved the morning market crowd and made a beeline for the dessert store. Okay, made a beeline means went straight to the dessert store. To my greatest horror, I failed to find the store despite running a few rounds. I forgot to mention that I was only 6 years old. That was when the reality that I had lost my Ah Zhou hit me. So before I go to the next paragraph, let's take a look at some of the writing techniques used by this writer. So first of all, she set the scene. Okay, she used the 5W1H. So what are the 5W1H? Who, what, when, where, why. Who is involved? I, the writer, was involved. My great-grandmother, Ah Zhou, was involved. What happened? So they would always when did it happen? When I was in kindergarten. Okay. And where was it? They will walk to the Cheng San wet market. When was it? Every morning. Okay. Why? To shop for groceries. Why? As they only lived a few blocks away. Okay. And so who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, so how did this happen? Okay, so how did this happen would be Ah Zor always let great granddaughter eat dessert after they have done their grocery shopping, and then how did the writer go straight to the incident she wrote, right? However, an incident happened that changed my view of the unassuming Cheng Tng. Then subsequently, she told you there was once when my author needed to look for loose change to pay for the vegetables. Okay, so it tells you the context, what happened, very, very quickly. Okay, next, I want to ask you, did you notice what are some of the sensing verbs used by the writer? The show not tell techniques. Okay. For example, complaining. Okay. She let go of my hand. Okay. I was tempted. Okay. Or she was distracted. This is a very good verb. I braved. Why use braved? Because as a 6-year-old, she's supposed to be scared, right? But she braved the morning market crowd because she plucked up the courage to go and get something that she wanted. Okay, there's an idiom here, made a beeline. Okay, and there is also a different sentence structure here to my greatest horror. Okay, failed. Okay, instead of saying did not manage to find, failed is a more precise word. Okay. So what happened was that the 6-year-old writer lost her grandmother because she was trying to find the dessert store and get her ice kacang. Okay. Can you predict what will happen? What kind of reaction will a 6-year-old who has lost her grandmother do? What will the reaction be? Cry? Okay. Shout? Okay. How would you present this crying and shouting as a writer? What is the most effective way to show this fear in the writer? What's the most effective way in personal recount? What is one feature of personal recount? Oh, yes. I can hear you think. Okay, I can hear you thinking. Use a dialogue. Okay? Use a dialogue. So what will you write in the dialogue? Would you use the word I said my jaw is missing? Okay, is this effective? Okay, so I'm going to review to you what did the writer react after she realized that her jaw is missing. Remember, paint a picture for the reader. I cried and shouted, I want Cheng Tng and I want our jaw, hysterically in Chinese. One sentence painted this picture. Okay, you can see her crying, okay, shouting for Ah Zor in a setting of a hawker center. How is it done so? Because previously, okay, this the writer said the context illustrated the setting of this story, which was at a food center. Okay. So the writer cried and shouted, "I want Cheng Tng and I want Ah Chaw." Who do you think came to save her? Okay. Try to predict who do you think came to save her. Okay. Predict what will the savior do? Okay. I'm going to review what is going to happen now. After a few minutes of drama, okay, drama means the crying and shouting. So instead of crying and shouting, she said drama. Somebody grabbed my hand. There stood the Cheng Tng auntie, coaxing me to stop crying with a bowl of ice cold Cheng Tng. I wasn't sure why, but I felt secure seeing her. So there is a very effective sensing verb here, coaxing. Okay, coaxing means gently persuading. Okay, I felt secure means I no longer felt anxious. Okay, how did the writer do the show not tell technique? Okay, somebody grabbed my hand, not just held my hand, but grabbed my hand. Okay, and instead of saying I saw the Cheng Tng auntie, change the sentence structure. There stood the Cheng Tng auntie. Notice the comma. What did the Cheng Tng auntie do? Coaxing me to stop crying, then paint the picture. Not just with a bowl or with Cheng Tng, but a bowl of ice cold Cheng Tng. So when you say ice cold Cheng Tng, in your mind, you can see that there are ice cubes floating in the bowl of Cheng Tng. Okay. The boring Cheng Tng that I took for granted suddenly became super sweet and comforting. What does take for granted mean? Okay, it means that you undervalue this thing that is very familiar to you. Okay, you take something for granted means that you are not grateful for it. Okay, so remember that previously she said that the Cheng Tng was boring. She wants the exciting, colorful ice kacang. Okay, but now, okay, the boring Cheng Tng that I took for granted suddenly became super sweet and comforting to her, the lost 6-year-old. Okay. Now, you can continue writing the personal recount, but for this lady, she wrote it a different way. Okay. And yes, Ah Chaw managed to find me in the end. Ah Chaw is no longer around, but I went back to the store with my grandma and mom recently. I was so glad to see the auntie still selling the same desserts, served in the same yellow bowl with the same metal spoon. We had a brief chat with her and laughed about the above incident that happened 22 years ago. Of course, we had to order her legendary Cheng Tng, the magical dessert that had the power to calm the nerve of a lost child. So, instead of saying what happened in the end, spending many words, she used it to, you should use one sentence to end it. But she spent more time writing about why she wrote this food memory. Okay, she wrote this food memory that happened 22 years ago, and she wrote this food memory because she was so glad that the Cheng Tng auntie was still around, selling the same dessert in the same style, and at the end, she explained why the Cheng Tng was magical, because that Cheng Tng had offered to her when she was lost, had the ability to calm her nerves. Okay, so I hope that when you write your personal recounts, you show the reflection, the maturity of you. Why is it that you wrote and share this personal recount? Spend some time to think, why is it that you want to share the personal recount? What is the lesson that you want to share, or something that changed? Okay, so for this person is that this particular dessert that she ate had the power to calm her nerves. Okay, I hope you enjoy reading this particular personal recount. If you want to read more, you can go to this particular website. Okay, this particular website have 50 stories shared by everyday Singaporeans about food, our local food.